Okay, welcome everyone to today's virtual information session through Columbia College Chicago and the graduate admissions team. Today's topic is all about the Strategic Communication Master's Degree Program that we have here. I am one of your presenters. My name is David Martz. I'm the Assistant Director of Graduate Admissions. So if you've been emailing with anybody, it's likely been me. I'm here to answer all of your questions, mostly from the admission standpoint. And my co-presenter today is Justin. Justin, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hey everybody, my name's Justin Sinkovich. I'm the Associate Director of the School of Business and Entrepreneurship. I'm also an Associate Professor, and I'm heavily involved in the graduate studies here, and I have a lot of industry experience related to strategic communication. So it's great to join you today.
Yeah, and not to put you on the spot, Larry, but since you're in the room, and even though you're not one of today's official presenters, I know you're here and you can also take questions. You want to take a second to introduce yourself?
Sure. Larry Minsky. I am a professor in the program, and I teach in the strategic communication program and helped pull it together.
Great. So we'll all be on hand to answer your questions, but we want to take a little bit of time to go through the presentation, talk about the program. But before we really launch into the program, I wanted to take a step back and talk a little bit about Columbia for those of you who might not be as familiar with Columbia College Chicago. But we are an arts and media school located in the heart of Chicago's Cultural Mile, with an emphasis on practice-based learning. This is a shot of our campus here, right across the street from our campus. We're located down in the South Loop neighborhood. I'll get more into that on the next slide. Our mission is to educate students who will communicate creatively and author the culture of their time. That's taken from our mission statement and really does reflect the types of programming, the types of offerings that we have at Columbia. Over 50% of our student population now identifies as a person of color. We are committed to being an anti-racist institution, and we strongly feel that the more diverse a classroom is, it only leads to greater innovation and creativity. And we have about 5,500 students across the board who attend Columbia. The overwhelming majority of those are obviously undergraduate students. Our graduate population is much smaller. It's somewhere around 150, maybe as high as 200 students across all of our graduate programs. As I mentioned previously, we're located in the South Loop neighborhood. It's a condensed urban campus. This is sort of an overhead view of campus. Most of our buildings here, the 20+ administrative, residential, and academic buildings, are located in a 2-block east-west and about a mile and a half north and south big rectangle. So again, all of our campuses are pretty closely situated within the South Loop neighborhood. We are conveniently located to major public transportation like the Chicago City trains, the CTA, and then the outer metro trains that go out to the suburbs. All of these bluish purple dots, or these bluish dots here are the actually it's the purple ones. All the purple dots are the public transportation options nearby campus. And then we're also close to Lake Michigan and several other cultural, historical, and entertainment destinations, from all of the activity that happens here in Grant Park, world famous Buckingham Fountain, and then what we call Museum Campus over here, which has our Field Museum, the Shedd Aquarium, and the planetarium. That's all located right here close to campus. And then for the next slides, I'm going to turn it over to Justin to talk a little bit more about the program before we come back to me. So Justin, take it away.
Absolutely. Thanks, David. So the strategic communication degree is a Master of Arts, an MA, housed in the School of Business and Entrepreneurship. And it's can be completed in as short a time as a year. So it's 30 credit hours, and it allows for either part-time or full-time studies. So if you study with us full-time, you can walk away with a master's degree in 1 year, but also you have the flexibility to study part-time if you have, you're busy at home or with your job. And so it's flexible on that front. Also flexible related to class structures. So our class structures are very friendly to those that work and have daytime type commitments. So we have a lot of online and hybrid course options in this program. And there's also some flexibility in the courses that you take so that you can match your schedule and also your professional interests with your course schedule. Awesome. So yeah, as far as program highlights, I mean, we're smack dab in the city of Chicago, and we are surrounded by industry that relates to strategic communication. So Chicago is famous for being a world leader in the agency world, and those agencies are surrounding our campus. And so we're in our courses, you're learning the theory, but you're also applying these with real world uh, projects. And so we really uh, mix the theory with practice um, in virtually all of our classes. And we you walk away with a finished career portfolio while working with these uh, real clients as well. So we're learning by doing. We take on a very hands-on approach, and again, because we're in downtown Chicago, we're able to work with quite a variety of real clients and real companies and agencies that can bridge the gap between your studies and your career.
And so that was some highlights. We're going to go into a little bit more detail about some of these, and we're going to start with the curriculum.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can see an array of courses. You have the program requirements up here at the top, and then you have the electives. And these electives change just a little bit as we're always updating with new opportunities. And if there's a specific project that maybe is on deck with a certain company, then we might add an option to this list. So it's worth noting these do change a little bit. But here you can see the program requirements. I thought this might be a nice chance for Larry, who's here with us today, to talk about as examples, a couple of the courses he teaches. If Larry, you're willing to do that.
Sure. So as Justin said, we teach the theory in the light of the reality. So we start from reality and what you do and how to do it, and then bring the theory in as an output of that versus here's the theory and just drop it. So I teach digital content and analytics, and in that, very specific steps you need to do to, one, make effective content that is digital. And most marketing communication messaging is digital these days, from PR, advertising, owned media, you name it. And how to analyze it and how to use the analysis to then refine and iterate and make it better. And it's amazing, and it happens a lot. We do have a lot of students. Most of the courses are, if not all of them, are taught in the evening, and most are hybrid, where we meet some on campus some of the weeks and then over Zoom the others. So it's a little bit easier on your schedule. And it's amazing when we work on these things that students are applying it on their day jobs virtually immediately. I was working through a section on websites in class, and just so happens one of the students in the class was redoing the website for his employer, and he was plowing in exactly what he was learning in class, things he didn't know about and things his team didn't know about, right into the project, making it more effective. And that happens across most of the courses, if not all of them. Anything else you need me to have, I could answer at the end. Justin, back to you.
Excellent. Thanks, Larry. No, I think you bring up a really good point. The fact that sometimes it's important to bring in the industry first before you learn the theory, so you know why you're learning the theory that you're learning. So I love that you highlighted that for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. So here you can see, you know, the array of courses. I can tell you that, you know, the public relations seminar you learn. I actually was a publicist for a number of years, and um, gaining media exposure through public relations and communicating your brand effectively is an important strategy. Of course, advertising a huge part of our world. Another job that I think my first job out of college was being an advertising executive, actually. So that's a big part of my world. How to manage and communicate your brand, um, communications planning, both externally to the world around you, but also internally as well. So internal communications. So that's just a brief overview of some of the course requirements.
So now that's the curriculums out of the way, let's talk about the people who are teaching those classes and some of our faculty.
Awesome. So you can see here, and I think what's really important here, there you can see Larry. And one, a major point here is all these folks are extremely, they're not just talking about what they're doing, they actually do it. So these are folks that are still heavily ingrained in the industries that they're talking about, and they're heavily connected in the industries. So they are not only bringing real world clients into the classroom, but they're working on other projects and with other clients as well. And those connections are huge for bridging the gap between your degree and seeing people really succeed in these industries that you want to succeed in, and helping provide opportunities and just the inspiration to see what all the cool stuff that these folks have done and are doing as a model to uh, get you on your way and to uh, land the next big step in your career. So these are just a handful of the professors in our program. There are many more. So
If I can interject,
yeah, please.
I'll use an example from my class. I bring in my work and show it to the students, so they can get a sense of what I'm doing, not only um, for just to know that I'm in the field, but it brings the topics alive because I'm working and struggling through the same issues as a creative that they will be doing on the job and working through. And I know Clifton does that, and I know Peg brings in Real World, and Brian is with an agency in New York. That class that he teaches is online, and um, he is one of the top planners around.
Awesome. Yeah, I know that Peg's traveling right now, and she otherwise she would be here, and she wanted me to let y'all know, say hello and let y'all know that she's been working in the communication research class with Purina, and they've been running digital focus groups that include pets that are on camera, and she says it's really interesting hearing about fur baby parenting and pet priorities, shifting distribution preferences, pricing strategies that work, product development, and the related marketing communication. So I thought that was really interesting insight.
We've talked about curriculum, we've talked about faculty. Let's talk a little bit more about what you could possibly do after you graduate. What are some possible careers with this type of degree?
Awesome. Thanks, David. So yeah, like I talked about, I mean, I personally have been involved in advertising as an advertising executive. I've been a publicist. I've also been just the founder of multiple startups, and then managers of more established companies. And this communication, like I talked about, both externally and internally, very crucial for brand management and just marketing and effective management, managing change and leadership. And then I know that Larry is really involved on the agency side. Larry, anything you want to add on that side?
Yeah, well, my background is as a copywriter, creative director, creative strategist on the agency side, and I do work directly with clients as well, doing everything from supplying lines of copy to helping one national major company develop their corporate marketing department. They were their different areas had different marketing departments, and we consolidated into one. So I had to work with the CEO to even define the job description. And those are kinds of the jobs that you can be getting, anything from in-house um, communication development, reputation management, uh, digital marketing, digital websites, you name it. There's a whole host, and being in such a big media market and corporate headquarter market, Chicago is a great place to start, but our grads go all over the country working in that as well.
Speaking of which, that's a good segue if we're done to some of our recent grads or almost grads even. Larry or Justin, anything you want to say about some of our more recent graduates or upcoming graduates even?
Yeah, go ahead, Larry. Go ahead.
No, I think this shows the range of stuff that our graduates are doing from, everything from working in the city of Chicago as a project coordinator to doing social media for the president of a fairly large country to doing other kinds of social media management. Most stuff today is digital, so you'll hear a lot of social media and digital marketing, to other kinds of positions where you need strategic communications to get your message out effectively, efficiently.
Absolutely. And I know that, yeah, like you said, this is a great cross section of some of our students, and absolutely. So the strategic communication, it's important across all different industries. And, for me, I know that I've worked with a number of different brands and clients and artists as well. So my main background is in working with artists and communicating their brand, getting them opportunities in publicity and running their advertising campaigns, also running their social digital campaigns as well. So, but yeah, these are just some examples, of some great students and the work.
What it does is it empowers you to work across the entire communication ecosystem, mostly as a conductor to help coordinate all the different disciplines and needs. But you could also be a specialist as well. Some specialists you might need certain focus portfolios, which we can help you get as well. But it gives you the broad spectrum to be able to jump from one thing to the next and the perspective to know how they all work together. Back in the day when all the different specialists would go to a client, they would all be claiming that that's their kind of problem and stuff like that. And really, the best advisor is the one who knows, well, this is really a PR problem. This is really an advertising media problem. This is really a creative messaging problem. This is a structural problem. And you'll get that kind of insight in this program.
Awesome.
Let's talk a little bit about the facilities. Now, obviously, you're mostly in classrooms, but some of these buildings and some of the buildings that you'll be in have things other than classrooms. So, Justin, you want to talk a little bit about the facilities and the buildings that a StratComm student most likely would be in?
Sure. Yeah, we're right on Michigan Avenue, right? 618 South Michigan. and beautiful view overlooking Grant Park and Buckingham Fountain and Lake Michigan. And so that's our home base. A couple things that aren't mentioned here is there's a beautiful new student hangout facility called the Hive on the 3rd floor, and that's where students that's their terrain where you can book events or just hang out, and a nice community space. It's also worth noting that in addition to all this stuff, we have a beautiful student center with all kinds of facilities that.
I'm actually going to be talking about that on the next slide.
Oh, great. Sorry, I didn't realize I was jumping ahead there. But yeah, so like David said, we're mainly classroom oriented. You can see we also have a gallery. We have a place to host events. And then you can see some of the communication related places. We have an award-winning newspaper. We have an excellent radio station. That's 33 Ida B. Wells. That's just a couple blocks away from us. But we have all kinds of, the South Loop of downtown Chicago is our campus, and we have all kinds of great facilities. We also have some media production facilities that can help you produce your work as well.
Yeah, you made a great point that while these 3 buildings might be the primary buildings that you might be in, day out for classes, as Justin mentioned, really the whole campus is sort of at your disposal depending on what you need access to and the type of work that you're trying to accomplish. So you may break down some of the walls between your departments and others based on the types of works and facilities that you need to take advantage of. As Justin mentioned, we do have a new student center. It is our newest building to the Columbia building family. It's a fantastic building that really does, as the name suggests, it's a center for students across all disciplines. It's a great opportunity to network, to hang out, to host events. Just to name a few of the bells and whistles and services that is in the student center, there's a food court with a tech bar, there's student lounges, plenty of places to meet and study. There's a maker space, a DIY maker crafting space. There's a fitness center. The career center is located in the student center. Again, plenty of practice and meeting spaces, and up on the 5th floor, almost that entire 5th floor is designated for exhibition and an exhibition hall. So our students really do take advantage of the student center when they're not in classroom. We have a few more slides to get through, one of which is I want to talk about some funding options. Funding is obviously an important part of the decision-making process when determining whether or not grad school is feasible. And when it comes to funding at Columbia, those usually fall into 4 different channels: scholarships, working on campus, working off campus, and then federal loans. Scholarships, Columbia does have a variety of scholarships, both for incoming and continuing students. The incoming student scholarships, they are called graduate awards. These are merit-based scholarships based on the overall merit of your application materials as deemed and reviewed by the faculty review committees. They vary in value, but they cover on the low end maybe 25% of your tuition, and on the high end 65% of your tuition if you were to get one of those scholarships. You just have to apply to the program on or before the priority deadline, which I'll talk about more in a second, to be considered for those scholarships. And then a full listing of our scholarships can be found at colum.edu/scholarships. I'll put that link in the chat. When it comes to working on campus, all graduate students, whether you're international or domestic, can work a maximum of 20 hours a week. You can have more than one campus job so long as you don't go over 20 hours a week. And as Justin and Larry have already alluded to, the strategic communication program is pretty work friendly. It allows you to work either on campus or off. So most of our students who are in the program usually are having 1 to 2 jobs, depending on their situation. And then assistantships. An assistantship is a job. It's one where you would work for the business and entrepreneurship department doing something related to your field. It will likely be either a teaching assistant or possibly a research assistant, maybe even a special event or marketing, or in your case, a communication-based assistant. And then if you get an assistantship, you're paid with a stipend. I believe it's $3,000 each semester. You have to be awarded an assistantship. You can't apply to one. But if you apply on or before the priority deadline, just like our incoming student scholarships, you're automatically considered for an assistantship. All other campus jobs, though, will require a separate application after you've been admitted. And we have a variety of different campus jobs all over. When it comes to working off campus, as I've already mentioned, this program does allow, is pretty flexible for the worker. So many students work off campus in the city of Chicago or elsewhere. Our student employment portal, which lists all of our on-campus job opportunities, will sometimes also list external off-campus jobs. And then your academic department or the Career Center might know of other internships or other opportunities. And then lastly, federal loans. You know what federal loans are, I'm assuming. You fill out your FAFSA. I believe you can start filling out the FAFSA as early as December. And then assuming you are admitted, the U.S. or the Financial Aid Office will send you a breakdown of the loans that you're eligible for. So that's a quick overview of funding. We can take more questions about that in the question and answer period. Quickly to go through some of the application requirements. So all of our applications require an application fee, a personal statement. What to cover in the personal statement varies from program to program, a resume, and then transcripts from all universities you've attended. And optional for this program are letters of recommendations. We suggest 2, and then a portfolio. It says 2 or 3 curated materials, and Justin and Larry can talk about that a little bit more if you have questions about what you want to submit. But you might want to consider professional writing examples, research papers, point of view letters, journalistic writing, or creative communication materials. So photography, illustration, performance design, poetry, anything that you think is tangentially related to strategic communication is fair game for a portfolio. So letters and portfolios, those 2 are optional pieces. The rest are required. And then note, if you are an international applicant, you may have additional application requirements. So the timeline for this fall, right now, the applications, before you would submit an application, some of the things that you should be doing is attending information sessions like you are today and doing research on your program of interest, starting to collect your application materials, start thinking about who would write your letter, start thinking about what you want to say in your personal statement. And then the applications are currently open. You can submit your application. We recommend submitting it as soon as possible for the most comprehensive scholarship and assistantship and financial aid consideration. But the real deadline that you want to embed in your brain is March 7th. That is your priority deadline in order to be considered for the fullest array of scholarships and assistantships, etc. We will be reviewing applications beyond March 7th, but if you apply after March 7th, there's no guarantee that there's any financial aid consideration at that time. So at this early stage, you should be applying on or before March 7th. And then typically 3 to 4 weeks after the priority deadline, that's when decisions will be released. And then regardless of when you're admitted, if you're admitted in January or if you're admitted in May, we'll have a deadline of May 1st, May 15th, typically, to let us know your decision if you plan on attending. And then lastly, before we start taking questions, you can begin or continue your application by going to apply.colum.edu/apply. And then I encourage you to take advantage of our admissions events. A full listing can be found at colum.edu/grad events. Admittedly, we're winding down a little bit with admissions events for the fall, although we have a couple more coming up in later November and December, and then we'll ramp up with a few more in the spring. So I encourage you to come out to any of them. And even if you don't attend an event, but you're in the Chicago area or you're visiting Chicago, you can always send me an email and we can arrange a campus visit where I can connect you with a faculty member, possibly take a tour of campus or even sit in on the class. All of those are possible with a little bit of advanced planning. And that is it for the presentation itself. I want to thank you for sitting through this portion of it. I'm going to stop the recording and then we can start taking questions.